You join us for the highlights of the Mugello sprint race of the 2016 FF2M season, partly because we had some technical issues in the feature race, although we did manage to capture this exciting three-way battle for the lead on the final lap of the race between race leader Nolan Bryant, second place Alessandro Farina, and third place Caterina Caracciola. Farina did start the race from pole position, but in amongst the pit stop sequence, he lost that lead to Bryant at some point. You can see an OLM parked on the outside after a spin, but out of the final corner comes Nolan Bryant with a queue of cars behind him, eager to take the race win off of him, but he just about managed to hold on to that by just 0.038 of a second from Farina and 0.120 from Caterina Caracciola. One of the closest finishes in FF2M history. Farina did have pole position and fastest lap, so only scored 1 point fewer than Bryant, but as a result Bryant actually leads the championship on countback because he has that win. Caterina Caracciola sits third in the Drivers' Championship ahead of Pierre Gasly, who didn't have a particularly good race down in 9th. As for the rest of the top 8, Pascal Wehrlein had a good race to 4th ahead of Alvarez. Kinnunen gets Spaniel's first points of the season on the hard tyres, and starting third on the grid for this sprint race, that'll bode well on the soft tyres. Kobayashi 7th, and from last on the grid, Benjamin Pryor managed to pinch the final point, and as a result, he will start on pole position. So this is round 2, or rather meeting 2, of the 2016 FF2M season. You can see a look at the Tuscan hills in the background, whilst we look at the start-finish straight on the Mugello circuit, the magnificent Mugello circuit. Very fast, full of good corners as well, the Arrabbiata corners, and then the San Donato and the Bucina corners. Some good names as well. A recap of the previous meeting saw race wins for Pierre Gasly in the feature race at the Nürburgring, and a sprint win for Caterina Caracciola in the STV Racing. It is Pierre Gasly who leads the championship. Well, it was before Nolan Bryant's win, but after the Nürburgring, Pierre Gasly led the championship. There's a look at the circuit, and we've already had the feature race that was 33 laps. The sprint race scheduled to be 14 laps. Last season saw Esteban Ocon take pole position, but Max Verstappen taking the feature race win, but then Esteban Ocon redeeming himself with a sprint race win. So, as mentioned before, the plucky Benjamin Pryor took the final point of the feature race, and with the top 8 being reversed, he's on pole position ahead of Kamui Kobayashi in the Gajera 2, Väinö Kinnunen 3rd ahead of Cristobal Alvarez 4th, both on the soft tyres for this race. Expect them to be the favourites. Pascal Wehrlein 5th ahead of Caterina Caracciola 6th, and then Alessandro Farina 7th ahead of the feature race winner Nolan Bryant 8th. Pierre Gasly 9th on the grid ahead of Luca Di Giotto 10th for Liquitarget. Then we've got Mason Taylor in 11th ahead of Sam Bird in the other Danish racing team 12th. Esteban Ocon 13th, nothing like as good as his teammate Alvarez. Naoki Yamamoto 14th. Matteo Alfonsi not showing particularly well in the feature race down in 15th ahead of Fittipaldi 16th. Markelov in 17th ahead of Nikita Mazepin 18th. Oliver Rowland 19th ahead of Louis Delatraz in 20th, and a miserable feature race for the OLM Hulk team sees Daniel Kvyat and Charlotte Plectrum 21st and 22nd on the grid. In other words, the back row. So the 5 lights are on. You can see on the left is Benjamin Pryor, and out go the 5 lights, and it was a great start from 3rd on the grid for Kinnunen on those soft tyres, and alongside him, trying to get up alongside, is Alessandro Farina. Actually, Farina is on the soft tyres as well, and trying to get up alongside Pryor into San Donato, and it's Kobayashi actually. Into the lead goes Kamui Kobayashi, now into turns 2 and 3. Kobayashi on those soft tyres and looking quite good in the early stages. Alvarez took 3rd away from Kinnunen at the opening stages, and Kinnunen made contact and he's going to spin it! Just as he did at the Nürburgring in the feature race, Kinnunen has thrown away a golden opportunity. Now we are on board with, I think this must be Nolan Bryant, who is behind Wehrlein and Farina. This is a 3-way battle for 4th incoming as Kobayashi sets the fastest lap of the race for Gajera 2, and look at that, Bryant already passed Farina, now he's alongside Wehrlein into San Donato, And this is going to be 4th place for Nolan Bryant. So, he spun it! Or was that contact with another driver? Was Bryant tapped around by Wehrlein? I wonder. We might get a replay on that. But, oh my goodness me! He's nearly got his head decapitated by the AJ. Is that Kiminen trying to make his way back up the field? Braking too late and nearly spinning and absolutely wiping out Louis Delatraz. So, Kiminen, pushing hard to try and regain lost time, has nearly killed Bryant. Wow. So, this is Wehrlein, Farina, Caracciola and Bird. This is still the battle for 4th now, but it does not feature Nolan Bryant after what happens to him going into San Donato. Was there contact, or did he actually... Well, who knows? We may never know, as Wehrlein versus Farina, and I think Bird is making his way past Caracciola into San Donato. And further up, Pryor and Alvarez are right next to each other and looking to do battle for 2nd place. We might see that at some point. In fact, here it is. Alvarez on the softs versus Pryor on the hards. And trying to get on the outside is Alvarez, but that's not the best line, and as a result, he's had to back out of that one. Now we switch to the battle for 4th, this rampaging battle for 4th, between it's nearly 3 wide going into San Donato. This is Bird trying to make 2 positions. He's gained one of them on Farina, and is he going to get Pascal Wehrlein as well? Yes, he is, round the outside at 2, and then 3. And just a bit further back from this lot, Esteban Ocon overtook Caterina Caracciola for 7th place on that main straight. So around in the next series of S-Bends, this is Farina versus... In fact, Ocon has taken Farina somewhere, and I'm suspecting Farina is going to do something about that. Ocon trying to look, and now Farina's tagged the back of Ocon. Is that going to let Caracciola through? Well, not quite, but... Farina having to ride the wall of death on the outside, kissing the gravel trap on the outside, and that has put Caracciola up to 7th place. Is still Kobayashi leading the race by 2.9 seconds from Benjamin Pryor, who himself is still ahead of, and this is Ocon, this is Wehrlein versus Ocon, both are spinning, and that's put Caracciola up to 5th place, and that's going to cost some time. So, lap 9 now, Pryor versus Alvarez. These two were teammates last season in the FF2M, and zooming up the inside goes Alvarez very convincingly on the brakes. I think Pryor must have cacked himself when he saw how fast Alvarez was making the overtake. But anyway, so through the Arrabbiatas, Caracciola versus Farina. Is there going to be... Oh, there's a slight tap, and that's going to put Farina into a spin. Caracciola thinks just about hold on to that one, but look who's behind her now. Mattia Alfonsi, arch rivals, as Farina drops way down the order. So, this is into Corrientaio, or however you pronounce that corner. This is race leader Kamui Kobayashi. On his final lap now, and through the little S left and right before the final Buccina curve. And this is going to be a pretty good result for himself in his return to FF2M. Expected in some ways to be a number 2 for Farina, but with Farina out of contention, Kobayashi has capitalised on that brilliantly, taking the lead at the start, and taking the win in the sprint race is Kamui Kobayashi. Cristobal Alvarez must come home in 2nd surely. I think he would have done. And then Benjamin Pryor from pole position, holding on to that one actually, not doing too badly on the hard tyres, taking 3rd ahead of the Danish racing team of Sandberg, and 5th place, more points for Caterina Caracciola, and the final point, 6th place for Mattia Alfonsi, but the additional point for fastest lap did go to Alessandro Farina. I wonder if he did that in the early stages, or maybe as he rejoined after his collision with Caracciola. Further back, completing the top 10, Alfonsi 6th, Esteban Ocon recovering to 7th, but it could have been a bit more than that for Willows Jr. Mason Taylor 8th, Luca Giotto doing quite well in 9th, considering it's his first season in FF2M, and completing the top 10 from 19th on the grid is Oliver Rowland. But you can see further back, Delatraz and Kiminen failing to finish. Kiminen particularly, that is not going to do his championship any good at all. So Farina leads the championship now. He's got 1 point over Nolan Bryant thanks to that fastest lap, and another 1 point behind the consistent Caterina Caracciola. Scored points in every race so far. Cristobal Alvarez 4th at the moment, and Pierre Gasly, after a difficult weekend, goes from 1st down to 5th. Kobayashi 6th, then Taylor, Pryor, Wehrlein and Bird completing the top 10. And in the Teams Championship, it is Gajera 2 holding an 8-point lead over STV Racing, and then Shake and Bake Jr. on 21 points, 12 behind Gajera 2. Willow's Magnum Force 4th and 5th, then Danish Racing, AJ Motorsports and Spaniel down in 8th. OLM Hulk, Liquid Target and GRM Jr. all yet to score points. So that was the sprint race highlights for the Mugello meeting. We'll be moving over from Italy to Spain, and the Aragon meeting, supporting the FF1M, FF1M's first race at Aragon. So we shall see you for then.